Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Emilia.
How are you today? Yeah, I have Andrew Michael with me today, who will be talking about building a product insights team. How are you, Andrew?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. If you could tell us a few words about yourself, your new company, right, and your background, so we know like what is the context of this talk.
The context, yeah, for sure. So myself, previous startup founder, had founded three companies and built four products. Managed to sell three of them, but for peanuts because churn and retention was a problem. And at that time, I actually joined Hotjar because
Mm,
one of our previous advisors was an advisor to my company, David Dominin, and he basically said, like, why don't I come to Hotjar, see how things will be done right,
mm,
and when you're ready, you can get started again. So I was fortunate to have a SaaS masterclass there over 3 years, 3.5 years. And during my time there, I ended up heading up the business intelligence team, building it from the ground up. And eventually, sort of coming into this problem where we are today, where we're building a new company called Avrio. And what I realized at Hotjar was as the company started to grow, customer research, data analytics, they were working in silos. You had marketing doing a bit of research, you had product doing their thing, and the teams weren't effectively communicating. And what ended up happening was research was being repeated, good insights were going to
mm.
waste, and we were just ultimately wasting our time and not taking advantage of what we actually did know. So that's where we are today. Avrio is trying to solve that, and that's a little bit about the short synopsis of my background.
Wow, yeah, okay. So how is Avrio solving that problem? Because, well, it's a big one, right? It's
It's a
pretty
big
much
one.
a mouthful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that we quickly realized in the very beginning, I just started speaking to different companies, seeing how they were doing this. And it's very, very common that they would say, okay, we use Notion or Confluence or something like Airtable, and we centralize our information in one place and we allow our team to discover it. But very like the same sentence would always be, yes, but nobody does it. They have to go out of their workflow. Only the
Mm.
people that save stuff, they know it exists there. It's very difficult to keep up to date. Like customer insights and data need to be timely. So it's not really effective channel and means. So what we did is we sort of thought, okay, how can we rethink this a little bit instead of having that old notion of a centralized repository? But
Mm.
how can we make sure that you have access to all your insights wherever you work and allow you to capture and save from wherever you are, so you don't need to leave? So a large part of our product is actually an extension first experience, meaning that you have access to our product wherever you work in any tool at any given time. So you can unlock insights
Mm.
for the rest of your team, and that can be applied across the company. So if you're in support and you discover something interesting, looking through the Zendesk data or looking through Zendesk tickets, you can quickly and easily capture
Okay.
insight directly in Zendesk. Likewise, as a product manager in Mixpanel or Amplitude, whatever the analytics tools, and it goes on for the different teams. And then this allows you then to centralize all these sort of nuggets of gold that
Hmm.
are living throughout your entire stack. And then when you start working on your next business case or experiment hypothesis, you have a rich repository that you can search from and see all the insights information you have from across the company.
Yeah, that's a kind of a recurring theme across the conversation I've had with the speakers so far that, like having a tool that allows basically to log these things or collaborate without switching context. So that's also interesting. But like let's talk a little bit more about this product insights team. Like I've never had this term before, I will be perfectly honest with you. So most of the product teams I have been in touch with were either, too small to even like think about calling themselves specifically a product insights team, right? Or
Yeah.
having a dedicated team to collecting product insights. So would you say this applies to only like larger product teams and enterprises that have, several different product teams and dozens of product managers, or can a small startup also have a product insights team within their product team?
Yep, absolutely. I think it's less about the concept of the team in the
Mm.
sense, and it's more about the practices and processes that the
Okay.
team works within. And I think this is very much like from our learnings at Hotjar as well, is that you can't have the what without the why. And most of the time, like companies end up building a user research team. So they might have like one or two user researchers, and then they start building a data analytics team and they start growing that. And typically these teams are working in silos and they're not
Mm.
really effectively communicating. And you might see something interesting in the data, and you can see what's happening, but you just don't really know why it's happening. And to understand the why, you actually need to speak to your customers. You need to have these discussions. And on the flip side, like when you're doing your user interviews and you're trying to discover something interesting, you might come across something insightful from a customer. But just having that as an insight, you're not sure how big of a problem this actually is. And that's where data analytics can come in and really help you to sort of quantify that problem and really understand, okay, is this what we're seeing in the data as well? So the idea of building a product insights team is really about having these two practices within an organization that are typically very separate, come together to actually work together to inform their research and their analytics practices, so that essentially you're getting the full picture when you're presenting it to who the stakeholders are or working on a business case or experiment hypothesis. You really have got both sides of the table.
This is super interesting. So I've been pretty much asking everyone the same question, like how do you collect user insights in order to understand the user really and like understand their journey? This is the problem that we have at User Pilot as well. Maybe not so much on our end, but like from the perspective of our end users. So we built a tool that allows to address the problems that users may have at different stages of their user journey. But we've noticed that basically a lot of our users are not really aware what is happening at later stages of the user journey, or they don't have the resources to address these problems. So how do you address this? How do you collect the insights so like what is happening not only at the new user onboarding stage, but also at later stages of the user journey?
Is going forward. Yeah. So it's exactly as you mentioned. I think it's really good to break down by different stages of the user journey. So when you're going and analyzing, if it's looking at analytics or you're doing interviews, you're really segmenting the users based on their stage. So if you're doing a new research project and you want to try and understand the different phases, would really be to make sure that you're only speaking to people at those later stages, and to get together sort of groups that you can. There's very easily, like through your CRM or through any of your product analytics tools that you're using, you can quickly and easily pull together a segment based on the stages and based on what you understand of your customers. And then it's, in our case, like with Avrio, you can really just essentially save those insights and tag them by stage. So coming back to it, you can then see and understand, like by different stage of the user journey, what information do you know, what do you understand? And it's not really only about the data analytics, but also about what user research has been done, like what are some of the customer conversations we're having with people at these different stages. And then actually, I think that's where there's extreme power, in the sense is that if you can explain to someone on your team with a graph and then back it up with something that a customer has actually said, oftentimes like people don't trust the data they see, or they don't feel things are real. And bringing together like an actual customer at a stage in their journey where they're feeling a pain point or a pain is a really effective way to communicate with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So combining the quantitative analytics with qualitative data. But yeah, I mean, collecting qualitative data that are also reliable is pretty hard, right? Because like you need to ask users the right questions. So how do you go about it at your team in order not to, bias the user to giving you the answer you want to hear, right?
I think this is probably one of the hardest skills to master. And to be very honest with you, I still make these mistakes. And you have to excuse, I have a little 2-year-old. We're at school holidays at the moment, and it seems like he's doing laps up the passageway. But yeah, so I think this is probably still one of like the hardest things to master, because it's so easy to slip into that mode where you like trying to get the answers. And I think it's just the mindset of really going into it. You're not trying to prove yourself right, but more trying to learning. And if you have that mindset from the outset, even when it comes to sort of experimentation, and it's not about being right, it's about learning, that really helps, I think, frame the conversation for you in your mind and really tries to understand. So instead of like when you're asking questions, like it's all about digging deeper, understanding why, getting to the root cause. And for me, typically it's always about like asking 3, 4, 5 whys. So why did you do that? And it's difficult, I know, especially like at the early stage now. I find myself guilty of this quite a lot, where I'll be doing customer interviews and I'll ask a question that's interesting, and then I'll immediately sort of jump to speaking about the product or like how our problem solves that. But really, like the next question should have been, okay, so why do you feel that way? What is the pain? Like, and just really always trying to get to the root cause, because more often than not, like the first response you get from a customer or from a user is not really like the actual problem or the actual pain that they're experiencing. So just being conscious of that every time, like even if you do hear something interesting, if you do feel it's like a validation, like dig deeper, like because you're going to find something more interesting, I think, on the other side.
Yeah, that's a brilliant technique, actually. I kind of forgot about it off the top of my head, but like asking why several times, right? And in order to even find out, like, if they have a pain, then why is it important to solve it, right? Or if they didn't solve it, then why didn't they look for a solution, right? It's
Exactly.
super, super interesting. Cool. So if you were to give some like tips on collecting insights, right? So they don't get lost and they actually get utilized, because that's another spectrum of the problem that Avrio seems to be solving, right? But yeah, well, a lot of different teams are having interviews, especially as the whole company grows, right? But
Yeah.
then the insights are not being really utilized effectively. I find that we also have like large repositories or user interviews and insights, and then we kind of end up not doing much with it sometimes, at least
Yeah.
in marketing, right? Because I'm also talking about cross-functional teams. Well, the insights can inform not only products, right, but also customer success, marketing, sales, etc.
Exactly. So I think for this, it comes down to two things. One is sort of setting a standardized process throughout the organization. So a big reason people don't use the information is, one, they don't trust it because they don't know how it was conducted or how it was done or who they spoke to. So really like coming together as a team and understanding, okay, this is our research process. These are how we conduct interviews. These are the different methods we're using, and having a common understanding across teams is really, really powerful, because then, when you're viewing a different report or you're going through some past work, you have a clear understanding of how that was done and how it was conducted. So the first I would say is like really just having a good process. But then the next thing I think is even more powerful, and you mentioned it as well, is like most of the time the research you do is effective and useful for the rest of the organization as well. And the problem is most of the time we just go off and we do these in our silos. So marketing will go off and do anything. And I think one of the greatest ways to make sure that this research and the work gets used and is effectively actioned is that before going out and getting started, is just seeking feedback and saying, hey team, like we're doing this in marketing currently. This is the survey we're planning on sending out. This is what we're looking to learn or to try and understand. And just getting that initial feedback, I think you'll see the results like from the inputs and the excitements, and then the actioning of those insights later from the rest of the team are a lot more powerful than just sort of going off and like on your own sort of path. Because of those couple of problems I mentioned earlier, that the team will then come back and say, yeah, but we don't know how they did it. Did they speak to the right customers? Like they'll want to go off and do things their own way again. Just involving people early on in the process really then helps sort of maximize the return on investment for that work that you do.
Cool. That's a great tip as well. Awesome. So I won't be holding you up any longer. I've heard that you launched, quite recently. So there's probably so much to do. I'm looking forward to your full talk on the 4th and 5th of October. So Andrew will be speaking at Product Drive to Zero, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Have a great day.
Have a great rest of the day. Bye.